We spoke to farmers who were very concerned by the unprecedented rain and flooding on their land.
The flooding and all the rain we've received is affecting every farmer here in the Midwest. The delayed planting might affect the yield. It's too early to tell. A lot of it will depend on how the rest of the year goes. If we have good weather the remainder of the year, things could still yield well, but it'll just be a wait and see situation.
TV6's Sarah Jones is here. Last May, Justin was able to plant only about 10% of his crops, but Sarah, he's got more in the ground with this heat.
Yes, David, Justin says he's now been able to plant about 75% of his crops since the rain has stopped. But now, just like the continuous rain, it's the continuous heat wave that has him concerned.
Usually this time in July, the corn would be well over my head and tasseled and also pollinating an ear of corn.
This year's planting season has had no middle ground.
We've gone from one extreme to the other, from being too wet to being now too hot and dry.
The impact of the unusually heavy and continuous rain this spring is still visible.
We have other fields that remain too wet even today, and we were not able to plant all of our fields this year.
And it delayed planting season by about a month and a half.
We were worried by planting this late, it's such an unknown how well the crop will do.
While the sunshine has allowed Justin to plant 75% of his crops,
the fields that we did get planted are needing rain.
He says there hasn't been any significant rainfall in about 2 weeks.
Lack of rain will continue to put the crop under stress, which it has been under all year. First it was too wet for it, and now it is dealing with the dryness. And the extra stress certainly will affect yield at the end of the year when we go to harvest.
Irrigation helps, but it's an added cost. Justin says at this point in the year, irrigation hasn't impacted cost levels. It's more that extreme weather is impacting productivity, which will in turn impact profits.
On the acres that we did not plant, we will collect some insurance, and that will at least help cover some of our expenses for the year, and that will help the farmers get through this year.
He says crops need about an inch of rain every week.
Without getting the proper amount of rainfall now, it will slow the maturity of the crop down and reduce the overall yield at the end of the year.
So farmers are hoping the heat wave doesn't last too long. In Geneseo, Sarah Jones, TV6 News.
Now in May, we also brought you the story of how the heavy rain and flooding in the spring had impacted the transporting of grains.
We've been sitting on grain since the first week of December, and typically we start moving grain again mid-March, but with the river being above flood stage for a long time now, the river terminals haven't opened to receive grain yet this year. 60 days without being able to move grain out of our bins has been a little negative for us.
Chad now says as of July 8th, the local river terminal opened to accept March, April, May, and June contracted grain, so farmers have been hauling as much as possible to the river in order to get paid.